Looks like we're live. Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I am your host, doing this one-man band style. The real underscore G Warner on Twitter. You can find me there. You can find me on YouTube, Griffin Warner. You can find me on Instagram. I'm starting to add a little bit more there. The real underscore G Warner, and wherever else you can find me. Thank you for listening, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on Twitter, on StreamYard, on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, give 5 stars, whatever you feel like. Throw some comments or questions in there, and I will look at them a little bit more intently now that I'm back in the U.S. It was quite a ride in Europe, but no one probably cares about that. So we'll go right in to the European soccer leagues for this weekend. Thank you if you tuned in to a MLB podcast last night or the European soccer pod through that I do with Mackenzie Rivers through pregame. Anything you're doing to support me, I really appreciate, and I want to make sure I say that. We're going to go through each of the top 5 European soccer leagues, starting with the English Premier League. Going to give a best bet from each of them and an overall ultimate best bet. I'm still waiting for a sponsor on that one, so get at me. Slide in the DMs if you want to figure out a way to name that after yourself, your company, whatever you're trying to build. For now, it is the ultimate best bet, and it looks like it's going to stay that way until someone steps up to the plate. Without further ado, we'll go into the biggest money league, and that is Premier League, which has no Friday match this week. Fortunately, all the matches seem to be on schedule despite a 96-year-old's death, and also had a long chat with a royalist at Oktoberfest in München last week, and I'm still puzzled by the whole thing. But anyway, we'll start with the North London derby, huge matchup. Arsenal hosting Tottenham, and wow, I mean, what a way to get back into soccer in the English Premier League after the international break. This is a huge matchup. 2 teams that have aspirations to win the league. Arsenal sitting top and are currently a half a goal favorite at home, with all the juice on Tottenham on the road. And this one's come a little bit back and forth. Ultimately, I guess maybe not. Okay, let me restate. My number was a quarter on this one. I feel like it might fall to that number at the time of kickoff early in the wee hours of Saturday morning here in Dallas, Texas. But from what I've seen, I mean, Tottenham keep getting bet a little bit more and more. The juice climbs a bit, and now it's Arsenal getting odds on that half a goal if you want to lay them as a favorite. I haven't had a ton of success. I mentioned this on the European Soccer Pod with Mackenzie last night. Haven't had a lot of success in this matchup because I feel like home field advantage has been a little bit stronger. He also had a statistic that in the Premier League specifically, coming back for international breaks, the home field advantage is a lot stronger than you normally expect, which I think is understandable with travel, though. This international break was a little bit softer in terms of not a lot of teams or big players were flying to South America for matches. A lot of friendlies were had. And so you might see a little bit less of an impact this year. But ultimately, for this matchup, I think you got 2 teams that want to do different things that will be able to do what they want. Arsenal want to have the ball, want to be up the pitch and want to create. Tottenham, on the other hand, do not want the ball. They will give the ball away to even the worst teams that they play, especially on the road. I expect Arsenal to have a lot of the ball, and they will try to create a lot of opportunities with that. Probably means they have more shots. I would imagine more of their shots will be against pretty sunk in back lines. So I'm not sure that's going to be a great thing for Arsenal's goal efficiency stats, but ultimately they will have more opportunities than Tottenham, and that probably does make them a worthy favorite. Now, a half a goal favorite where a draw wins a full bet for Tottenham, I think that'd be a great result, and certainly what Tottenham are shooting for, if not a win. But seeing Sonny come off the bench with a hat trick in his last match was a really good sign. I imagine he's got to start after that. Richarlison's probably up there, so I imagine Kulusevski is the one who finds the bench, which I think is deserved because he's a good player, and I think he's a really good creator, kind of like a Steve Nash in his NBA days. I just don't know that he's the best player on that team, and I think you want to have the speed of Richarlison and Son, with Kane likely dropping back into midfield and trying to set them up or get them on the counter. I am worried big time about Davinson Sanchez as a defender. He was awful last match day, and ultimately someone that Jose Mourinho picks on every time he can. But I think ultimately, when deciding whether to bet this match or not, I'm most interested in Tottenham and they're running really with them going with 3-on-2s, 3-on-3s in space against the Arsenal defense, because I'm just not sure I'm a believer in Ramsdale, who has some big mistakes in him. Gabriel, who's, I mean, no stranger to a red card. William Saliba, I think, is really good, and it was like crazy to me that he was on loan in France for so long. But I'm not really a believer in Kieran Tierney. I don't know that Zinchenko's going to be back, and still feel like he's more of a central midfielder, like he plays for Ukraine. So there's a lot of questions I have about the Arsenal defense. I think at a half of a goal, I'm interested in Tottenham, and probably will play them if that's where it closes. I imagine this one might fall to a quarter, and that might be sure enough to keep me away. Next, we'll move to Bournemouth hosting Brentford. Currently, Bournemouth a quarter goal underdog at home. They had a pretty good showing against Newcastle before entering the international break. The hard part is I'm not really sure how much to really internalize or take from those matches, considering they were essentially 2 weeks ago. Brentford, on the other hand, got controlled throughout in a home match at home against Arsenal, and they had a really good showing in their Premier League debut last season. It didn't go so well this last matchup. They fell behind early and really never really mustered any sort of offense, and that makes me very interested to say the least to go against them as a road favorite, because I think home field advantage does matter in this sport more and more. I've learned that the hard way. I'll put it that way. But Bournemouth, they're going to try to sit back and counter. That's what they did last year in the championship. It got them to the Premier League, and I don't see that being a problem for them because they're going to play the way they want to. Brentford, on the other hand, are really more of a defensive side, and their offensive efficiency has not been as good this year. I think they've had a little bit better of a start to the year. Well, they had a great start last year, so maybe I'm speaking out of turn. But ultimately, Brentford, I don't necessarily believe in their offense. I feel like their defense is not as good as it was last year. They're certainly getting healthier every day that goes by, but ultimately, I mean, the working in of Ben Mee and Ahier and all these other injuries that they've had to deal with, I feel like it's a road favorite. That's something that I'd like to go against. A draw wins you half a bet, which isn't a significant amount, but ultimately it's better than nothing. So I like Bournemouth getting a quarter at home. Next, we'll go Fulham hosting Newcastle. Currently, Fulham also a quarter goal home dog. And they've shown that they can score. They've shown that their aggression has really not been punished. They've maybe because they've had enough quality to sustain attacking football, and it's put them in a good position. It looks like they probably are going to stay in the league based on how they started the year. I mean, certainly a long way to go, and we'll see how deep the pockets are when we get to the January transfer window. But Newcastle haven't really shown that they can score goals for years now. I think they did a lot to solidify their defense, which was really problematic after the Saudi Arabian takeover. But scoring goals still seems like an issue for him. Callum Wilson has been injured for so long. He scores when he's on the pitch, but I'm not sure that he's going to be back for this one. And I think Fulham can go and win this matchup. Whereas in the last match with Bournemouth and Brentford, I think you're looking really for a goalless draw or something really low scoring. I think Fulham can score here and are almost more likely to score than Newcastle. So getting a quarter is of great interest to me. Most of the juice right now, or all the juice right now, is on Fulham's side. So I'm going to watch that one to make sure it doesn't fall to pick them. Next, we'll go Crystal Palace hosting Chelsea, another home dog. I mean, looks like this is the weekend for home dogs in the Premier League. Crystal Palace, a half a goal underdog at home. All the juice on Chelsea on the road. And I really don't understand the respect that Chelsea are getting. Graham Potter's a mastermind, but and certainly has more talent at his disposal. But it's a team that was built in the mindset or mind frame of Thomas Tuchel, who is a different manager that wants to counterattack you, wheras Graham Potter wants to control the ball. And when I looked at that midfield, maybe N'Golo Kante is coming back in this one, but he's more of a 6 than an 8. I think he's someone that's going to really break up play rather than create a lot, though he does certainly have creativity in him. And the Crystal Palace home field advantage has been the strongest in the league. I don't think I'm going crazy by saying that. They have really outperformed expectations with a pretty quiet or pretty poor team last year in Patrick Vieira's debut season. I think he's been just as good this year. I mean, there's been some, very inconsistent performances. Seeing him go up 2-0 at Man City and hang on for a push with a +2 next to them to lose 4-2. That's certainly not a good sign, but I just don't see Chelsea scoring a ton of goals. As this line climbs, I get more interested in Crystal Palace, but even at a half of a goal, I'm still very interested at even money right now, getting a half. Next, we'll go Southampton hosting Everton, a matchup of two teams that look like they might be a lot of people were picking them to struggle towards relegation. I think I went out on a limb as a future and said Everton would go down. I still don't see where Everton get goals. I feel like they've been really, really competitive at home because they had a really great home crowd behind them, which is saying something considering they could certainly go the other way and be really disappointed in the performance. But the crowd's been huge for them. Problem is they're not going to have them here. And Southampton, the problem, I don't really see where Southampton goals come from either, which makes me lean to Everton on the road, getting that quarter. All the juice on Southampton. Maybe this climbs to a half a goal. I think until it gets to a half, I'm not interested in Everton because I just feel like you're hoping for a 0-0, and there's a lot of risk there. Southampton home crowd will be good, but the Southampton strategy to really kind of risk their defense with high pressure or pressure or really a high line under Hasenhüttl, it's kept them in the league for years, but certainly doesn't make me very comfortable that they're going to prevent Everton from that one big chance, kind of on a break. And I feel like that's all Everton needs, and that's really what they need to score a goal, because I feel like in open play it's going to be tough. And ultimately, in low-scoring matches that I don't see a lot coming, I do lean to the underdog. Also, I guess like that under 2.5, because I don't know where 3 goals come from in this meeting. Next, we'll go Liverpool hosting Brighton. Current Liverpool a 1.5 favorite. Brighton with all the juice on the road. And it's really hard to, I'm kind of unsure how to treat Brighton right now. Seeing Graham Potter move, he was their light bringer. He made a whole lot out of nothing. He made a lot of sugar out of you know what. But Liverpool, on the other hand, haven't been beating anybody handily. And they have to win by 2 goals here to cover the spread. They did beat Ajax a couple matches ago, but it seemed really fortunate to me. They certainly had a lot of pressure and had the ball a lot, and I expect them to do the same here. Part of me wonders if Brighton is going to play the same way that they did just without Graham Potter. I'm sure the new manager wants to come in and establish who he is versus Potter and try to take a different route. But I feel like Brighton were playing so well in Graham Potter's mold, I guess, easy for me to say. I think getting more than a goal is a big number and makes me interested, of course, as it always does. But Liverpool, I think, have big problems. And I don't know that international break resets that. I do think that seeing Andy Robertson back in the lineup would give me a little bit more comfort, because I don't think Tsimikas is anywhere near the talent that he is. I imagine Robbo is fighting some sort of injury, but it also could be effectiveness that that Jurgen Klopp is trying to kind of get out of him, because he's really not been that strong, in my humble opinion. Brighton getting a 1.5. I mean, I like every underdog so far, so they're not the strongest of my leans, but certainly lean that way as well. Though I do want to see what they're going to look like without Graham Potter. For the, I guess, nightcap on Saturday, West Ham host Wolves. West Ham currently half a goal favorite. With what offense, I'm not really sure. They've had European soccer performances that maybe have really taken them or surprised some people, and really taken the heat off of David Moyes. Not that he deserves that, because he's outperformed this club for a while, but ultimately their Premier League performances have been terrible. Bringing in Lucas Paqueta, I mean, he hasn't done much. It's going to take him a little while to get into the team. They don't like to play Maxwell Cornet, another Olympique Lyonnais transfer. I don't really know why, because he's so dynamic, and that's exactly what West Ham need. I feel like they, and Moyes, maybe to a fault, is trusting in Mikel Antonio, who's not, I think he's on the wrong side of 30. I'm pretty sure about that, and hasn't really done or delivered much in a season now. I think they're rewarding past performance and expecting that to indicate future results, and that's certainly not something I'm seeing. On the other side, Wolves, I mean, I don't know where Wolves are going. They certainly brought in every Portuguese player they could. They've done a lot of business in selling Den Donker, I saw in another uniform on the bench this recently. Connor Cody left. I feel like that doesn't speak to financials being in a great shape for Wolves. Also speaks to, I think, why Nuno Espirito Santo moved on in the past, but currently getting a half of a goal. I don't know that I really believe in Wolves to score either, but they're getting a half of a goal on the road in their pocket. I do think goalless is a possibility here. Over under 2.25. I don't think there's going to be a lot of goal scoring in this one, to say the least. So the problem for Wolves, though, is they brought in Gonzalo Guedes, who's a good creator, but ultimately needs the ball a lot, and they don't give it to him very often, and he's not really a defender. And I think the Bruno Lage mentality is he wants everyone to defend. It worked fairly well for them last year, though they weren't scoring any goals, yet we're in a European conversation. There's problems there. There's problem at West Ham as well. I think maybe under 2.25 is more interesting than that half of a goal on Wolves, because you need 3 goals to beat me. Whereas a Wolves plus 1.5, West Ham only need to find 1 goal on a crazy penalty or a corner kick, set piece, which is probably where they're going to try to score most of their goals. Moving to Sunday, Manchester City hosts Manchester United in the Manchester Derby. Currently, Man City a 1.5 goal favorite, big number, but they're the best team in the world. I think there's big questions about Man City and how they will perform in Champions League, but they've pretty much shown in the Premier League that they are an unbeatable force. Really, they're a force of nature. They are Hurricane Ian hitting the west coast of Florida. They are unfortunately a really tough team to get in the way of. Manchester United have looked better after starting the year as poorly as they could. So I'm not sure that's saying much. I'm still not a believer in Eric Ten Hag. I think getting a goal and a half will snake some people in, just thinking, okay, Manchester United could lose this game by 1, certainly could draw, could win. It's going to be a tough environment for them. I just feel like there's a lot of questions that I have in Manchester United. I'm not really interested in getting in front of the Man City train and the Erling Haaland train unless I really like the other side or have a reason to do it. Next, we'll go Leeds hosting Aston Villa. Currently, Leeds a quarter goal favorite. All the juice on Villa on the road. Villa were, I guess, impressive. I mean, I never think that they're impressive. Defensively, sometimes they're better, but I think that's where Dendoncker went because they lost Diego Carlos, their big signing, to an Achilles, and really had to find a way to play better defense because the Konsa Mings combination has not done well enough. And clearly Steven Gerrard didn't want that with the signing of Diego Carlos. Then basically had to go back to it due to injury. Leeds, on the other hand, it's kind of weird for me seeing them as a favorite at home. It's very slight. Almost looks like this is going to trend towards Pick'em before the match kicks off. Jesse Marsch, I really like his attitude on the sideline, demanding yellow cards from referees when they're going to give it to him anyway. I love it. It's probably how I'd do it if I was on the sideline. But ultimately, I'm not sure that translates to a lot of goals. And Leeds were pretty hot early in the season. Have had some fitness questions in terms of Marsch not really using substitutes the way he should, because he asks and demands a lot of his players in a Bielsa style, not as crazy, but it's almost Bielsa light. And that does give me some questions. And then potentially against tired legs, Aston Villa late in a match, if they can hang on the road and stay within striking distance, they could certainly go and win this match. I don't know that I see goals on either side of this, though I do think Leeds' style of play caters to those. So I feel like I'm less interested in that over under of 2.5. I guess lean to Villa and the under, but I'm not sure that either will make my card at this current number. And then moving to Monday, Leicester City, a 3/4 goal favorite to Nottingham Forest. I don't know how I'm going to avoid that one. Unfortunately, Leicester as a 3/4 goal favorite, having to win a match. They've been the worst team in the league. I don't see any of that changing. I mean, they've added some players. Wout Faes coming in from Reims is a great sign. I think he's a really good player. We'll see how he can translate at the Premier League level. But he's a header off of a corner kick. That's the best chance for them to score. And there's still big problems in that Leicester team. They've got bigger names than where they should be in the table. Nottingham Forest have really not been playing well lately, but I think that's due to not being able to hold on. Maybe that was fatigue or some legs coming into Steve Cooper's side that really played a role, because they've been in position, specifically thinking of the Bournemouth match where they had a big lead and choked it away. I feel like they've done it a couple times lately. I reminds me of Texas football, unfortunately, to switch sports for a second, but getting leads are important, and I believe that's a good indicator for Nottingham Forest. And if they have to lose by 2 goals for you to take my whole stake right here, so Nottingham Forest will likely be on my card on Monday. Going through, I guess we'll stay in England for best bets. Certainly interested in Tottenham, Bournemouth at home, Fulham at home, Palace at home. I mean, I'm going to say every match here, unfortunately. Everton I like, but I think I lean to under more than that one. Brighton, still have some questions about them, and going to Anfield is probably, so I don't bet every match on this card. It might be a little bit easier for me to abstain. Wolves, I like the under. Manchester United, I think, is on my list, but is far down that totem pole. Not a lot to do with Leeds and Aston Villa, and I think I'll be playing Nottingham Forest on Monday. For my best bet for England, I'll take Fulham getting a quarter at home. I feel like Newcastle's offense is not good enough. So next we'll move to Spain. We do have a Friday match, Athletic Club hosting Almeria. I do have a lean to under 2 3/4 here, because I feel like it's a really high number considering what Almeria will contribute, which I don't expect as much. But I got to say, Valverde, the new manager, he's taken hold a little bit for Athletic Club. They are playing a lot better. They're currently a 1 1/4 goal favorite. Scored a ton of goals at Elche. a ton of goals in their last match. It looks like the Williams brothers have finally found a way to clinically finish, which I mean, they've been lacking that for a long, long time. Nico Williams getting called up to the Spanish national team in the Nations League was a big deal, likely to prevent him from going to Ghana, where his older brother plays, but we'll see what happens with that one. Almeria getting more than a goal is of interest to me, but I feel like I'm not as strong, or I'm not as camped in my belief that Athletic Club cannot score. So it used to be when they were given more than a goal, I'd be on the other team almost every time, and certainly looking towards under. I'm not sure I feel that same way today. Moving to Saturday, Cadiz hosting Villarreal. Cadiz a 1-goal underdog after stealing a win and finally getting some points on the board. Now they got a really tough matchup here, but Villarreal, I feel like have been a little bit disappointing as they entered into the international break, whether that was tired legs from their Conference League matchups in the midweek, two pretty poor performances, favored at Betis taking a loss, and then falling behind to Sevilla, crazy kind of deflection goal, but ultimately taking a lead late, but getting ruled out for offside. And I feel like that home field advantage is not as strong for them when they're playing in one of their big rivals in Valencia's stadium at Levante. Here they're on the road in Cadiz in the south of Spain. A lot of yellow in this one for sure. Definitely some change kits involved, but I don't know that Villarreal have been strong enough to deserve to lay a full goal. Currently, all the juice right now is on Cadiz, but I just don't trust Cadiz to score. I feel like 1-0 is probably a likely result for Villarreal, and you push and get out of here, which is some value on Cadiz for sure. Because if they can somehow find the net, I think it's going to make it hard on Villarreal to cover. I don't think Cadiz are very good, and I'm not going to fall in love with a win, changing that sort of opinion. Next, we'll move Getafe hosting Valladolid. Currently, Getafe a quarter goal favorite off some good results, kind of out of nowhere after looking like they were dead to start the second season in a row. It looked like they were completely lifeless. Offense hasn't really been a strong suit for them. Enes Unal got really hot towards the middle of last season, trailed off towards the end, but he basically kept them up with his goals. Not sure that he's that trustworthy. The Turk is great at times, but does seem to have some peaks and some valleys. And I feel like we're in a valley with Getafe because Borja Mayoral just hasn't really been able to ever stick anywhere, whether it was Roma, Real Madrid, anywhere else. And that's some big questions. Now, Valladolid, on the other hand, they have some Primera División, some La Liga players that were there with the club a couple seasons ago, brought them right back to the big league after falling down to Segunda, after getting relegated. They do have some problems conceding late, unfortunately. I think that was against Cadiz where they lost right at the end. And they can't really afford to give those points away. Getting a quarter here, I feel like is probably a fair number. Just really is a Getafe at home, home field advantage type number. I think I want a half of a goal to back Valladolid. I do think that they can go get a draw at Getafe. I think they can win this match for sure. I think it's gonna be low scoring, and you see that with the over under at 2. And maybe I think I like the under better than I like Valladolid. Next, we'll move Sevilla hosting Atletico Madrid. Currently, Sevilla a home underdog. Pick them, but all the juice on Atleti on the road. Sevilla got a really good draw after a road draw at Villarreal after a road win at Espanyol, if I'm not mistaken. Big uptick in form for them, also included with a goalless draw on the road at Copenhagen. But ultimately, they are not very good, and they are a way different team than we saw even half a season ago, or when they were really pushing Real Madrid as the only true contender for La Liga championship last season. That, of course, they fell off from and ended up finishing, I think, 4th in La Liga, enough to finish Champions League and cash my future, but ultimately not a team that you want anything to do with. Atleti, on the other hand, are not a team I like. If this moves to a quarter goal favorite on the road, that makes me more and more interested in Sevilla. I just feel like that's one I should probably leave to the side, because I don't know that Sevilla can score goals. They have no real target man. Rafa Mir has not done anything. Yusuf En-Nesyri has not been healthy or has not been capable for over a season now. I don't really believe in Atleti, but ultimately they are a stronger team. And the international break, I think, will give Atleti a little bit more of a rest advantage than it will Sevilla, because Sevilla just doesn't have a lot of players that are playing internationally right now. Mallorca then hosts Barcelona. Mallorca, a 1.5 underdog at home with all the juice, which is saying something. I imagine that Barcelona money will hit until kickoff, so 1.5 will probably stay, and you might even see 1 3/4 before it kicks off. I don't think it'll hit 2, but at 2, I'm very interested in Mallorca. Over under is 3 in this one, which feels high, but ultimately any match with Barcelona in it, they're probably not going to defend much, and they're going to be on the front foot the whole time in your box, trying to stuff things in where they shouldn't be if you're the Mallorca defense. But I like Mallorca. I think under Aguirre, they're going to set up in a 5-4-1 and going to be really defensive and try to limit space. We'll see how well Barcelona do in breaking that down. I don't know that I feel like at 2, I'm interested in Mallorca, very interested in probably play it at 1 3/4. I'm more interested than 1.5. I don't know at 1.5 that I want to get in the way of Barcelona because I do believe they can score goals. And I don't know how Mallorca are going to do it. I mean, actually, I can tell you exactly how they're going to do it. It's going to be a counterattack, a cross in the box off the head of Marici, or a set piece. Those are going to be the ways that Mallorca score. And I think that's a really tough low XG event, or many low XG events that they will take for them to score. And Barcelona will have some chances because they will have 75% of the ball. That's probably too high. 70%, 65%, something like that. And will be living in the Mallorca box. And that's a scary, scary proposition to play an underdog, even getting a goal and a half. Moving to Sunday, Espanyol hosting Valencia. Only Espanyol will pick them. Even, I guess, juice on both sides in this one. So I lean to Espanyol. I'm not really a believer in Valencia. I do think Gattuso coming in is changing their identity and kind of who they are from the really defensive Bordalas, which they needed some of that in them. I do think Valencia are going to be a better team under Gattuso, and I think their offense will be a lot better. Espanyol seems a little bit, I mean, they're like an island of misfit toys. They brought in a lot of different bodies. Alvaro Fernandez has some really, really bad moments in him that gave up a goal and cost them in their last match. I'm looking for Espanyol to move to an underdog, but I don't know that it'll happen by the time this match kicks off early on Sunday here in the U.S. Celta Vigo then hosting Betis. Currently, Celta a pick'em with all the juice. Real Betis, I think, was bet down from a quarter here to pick'em. They're a stronger team. Celta Vigo has been really disappointed in me so far. I mean, they've looked great when I haven't backed them, but when I've backed them, they were really poor against Atleti, and then were not good against Valencia either. Haven't really been able to finish some chances. They've made them, and then their defense looks really, really, really weak, unfortunately. And I think Real Betis can really take advantage of that. I'll be looking to back Betis if this moves to a quarter. Might get there by the time this match kicks off on Sunday. It was there early in this week. I'm sad that I missed it, but I'll wait and hang out to see if it gets to a quarter because I think I'll play them there. Girona, you don't go with an H on the G in this one, unfortunately, like most Spanish words. Girona, a quarter goal underdog to Real Sociedad. Tough situation for Real Sociedad. They paid a lot of money for a great striker from Almeria in Umar Sadiq, and he's done for the year with some sort of injury. I didn't hear exactly what it was, but heard that on the Sociedad broadcast from a couple of weeks ago, and that's a big deal for him because he was a big signing for him. Sociedad certainly have a ton of attacking talent, a ton of great players. Mohamed Ali Cho is great, but he was really going to be the guy that would replace Alexander Isak, who moved to Newcastle for big money. I do think seeing Sociedad a quarter goal favorite on the road, certainly they're going to have to take it to Girona, and they're going to have to score goals to win this matchup, or else Girona gets paid. I do have questions about where Girona are going to score. I don't think they can keep up with Sociedad. So ultimately, if you're back in Girona here, you're hoping that their defense can play well enough and make it really hard on Sociedad. But I still think goalless is an unlikely scenario here. So you probably need Girona to score. I just don't know where that's going to come from. So I think I can skip that quarter of a goal underdog. And 2.25, I guess, as the under, I'm a little bit interested in, but not sure I want it. Real Sociedad then hosting Osasuna. Real Madrid. Wow, sorry, Real Sociedad was the last match. Real Madrid hosting Osasuna. Currently, Real Madrid a 1.5 goal favorite. I'm interested in Osasuna. They got off to a really great start thanks to a ton of home matches against bad teams, maybe some fortune, all those sort of stuff. I think that they're talented. They built a little bit more into their offense than they had in past seasons, but this is going to be a really tough trip for them going to the Bernabeu. Real Madrid, we'll see about the status of Karim Benzema. I mean, he's so important in that offense. When he's not there, it's really hard to see Real Madrid score. I mean, Valverde with his left foot can come in, cut in, and hit one in the top bins and put in where my grandmother hangs her coat. It'd be weird if my grandmother was hanging his coat, but hanging her coat. It seems like Real Madrid are spectacular counterattacking goals when they don't have Benzema. And that's hard to do when you're a 1.5 favorite, and probably it's a number that might even climb as we get towards this one kicking off. I lean to Osasuna. I'm not sure at 1.5 it's enough for me just yet. And last but not least, we'll move to Monday. Rayo Vallecano hosting Elche. Currently, Rayo a 3/4 goal favorite, trending towards 1. And that's a lot for Rayo to give anybody. I mean, I don't know if you can really believe in their offense. Falcao coming off the bench in their last match was important, but he's been a bit player for a year now. Elche have looked so bad. I don't know if their manager's been replaced. Probably was most likely in all of the top 5 European leagues heading into international break, giving up a million goals, getting sent off, looking frustrated. The problem for Elche is their defense is about as athletic as a thumb, so they can't really move at all. They're big galoots essentially. They take red cards more frequently than I remember. I think that's speaking to their frustration. Rayo in their space or in their home ground, they're going to want to counterattack. It was very strong in the beginning of last season, but tailed off. I don't think that they're very strong. They do have a lot of small players that are going to really force the big back line of Elche to really, because the Elche back line is almost built to head the ball away, but Rayo are not going to be trying to beat them in the air. It's going to be a lot of quick passes, a lot of using their speed on counters. It's a tight pitch, which is a problem I think will help Rayo Vallecano defensively against the bigger clubs, but against Elche, that's not really one of them. So I guess if I lean anywhere, it's to Elche getting the 3/4, but I probably want a full one to really get involved here, even though I don't think Rayo Vallecano are very strong. So to add to Fulham as my best bets running through the league so far. Don't think I have much to do on Friday with Almeria, though I do lean a little bit to that under 2 3/4. That's a really high number for Athletic Club. Moving to Saturday, Cadiz at +1 at home. Just not good enough for me, though I do see some trouble brewing for Villarreal at the moment. I do like Valladolid getting a quarter on the road at Getafe and that under 2. So I don't know who's scoring in that one. I feel like goalless draws are always great for underdogs as well, but unders especially. I mean, obviously, I like Sevilla at home at a pick'em, but I need a quarter at the bare minimum, and even then, I'm not sure that's enough. Mallorca getting a goal and a half is of interest against Barcelona, but I think they're going to be under the cosh the whole time. Espanyol, I'd like them to move to a quarter goal underdog. Don't see that happening. Real Betis, I'd like them to move back to that quarter. Probably would be my pick from Spain if they were a quarter right now, but they are getting odds at pick'em, so might get back there. Girona, just don't know that they score, so that's scary. Osasuna getting a goal and a half. I guess this is nice. There's not a lot of interest for me in Spain compared to England. But Osasuna getting a goal and a half, I think I need more. And then that last one, Elche getting 3/4, I think I need more there as well. So I'll make my best bet for Spain. I'll go under 2 in the Getafe Valladolid match. Moving now to Italy and Serie A. We do have actually no Friday matches, starting Saturday morning with Napoli hosting Torino. Napoli with an awesome start to Champions League play and a great start to the Serie A. I mean, everyone, including myself, we're kind of leaving them for dead, seeing Roma as a much stronger team. But Napoli moved on the older guys and got really young and made some really great signings. So credit them. We'll see if they can keep that up. They're currently a goal favorite to Torino. Torino with all the juice on the road. I like Torino in what they did last year under when they brought in Juric from Hellas Verona. He came in, changed who Torino were going to be. They're going to possess the ball. They're going to make a lot of chances. They don't score them very well, and they didn't really have Bellotti at their they didn't have the services of Bellotti at all, really, because he wanted to move. Finally did move. But from where I sit with Torino, they don't really score enough. They're not really surprising anybody. And if they're going to possess the ball and leave themselves open for counterattacks, Napoli are going to get right in there and cause some big problems. I think I actually lean over in this one. Over 2.5 feels a little short to me. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. I think Napoli have proven that they can score and are trustworthy in that category. So even getting a full goal of insurance is not enough for me on Torino. Moving next, Inter Milan hosting Roma. Currently Inter a quarter goal favorite, moved down from a half earlier in the week. I think that speaks to how poorly Inter Milan have been playing. They are getting further and further from the Conte reign. I don't know that. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that Inzaghi is not the same type of manager. He's played the same way and intelligently, though it didn't win them a Scudetto last season. I think there are problems in Inter right now. I don't know how reliable they are to score. The nice part is Roma's defense has been pretty poor, I think, especially considering the Jose Mourinho defense, that you really expect them to be tight at the back, score 1 goal and win. That's not this Roma team. They've been really offensive, which is good to beat the bad teams in the league, but I feel like has not shown well against the top of the league. I think at a quarter, even getting odds right now on Roma, there's not enough for me there. I'll look to see if they climb to a half a goal before this one kicks off on Saturday. Empoli then hosting AC Milan in the nightcap in Italy on Saturday. Empoli a 1 goal underdog, had fallen from 1 to 3/4, now back to 1. as I'm doing a little bit more monitoring of line movement or trying to this season. AC Milan have been really strong. Ultimately, I've not had a really good time fading them this year. I feel like I've been in those games, but ultimately the late goals have been tough, or just really AC Milan have been clinical in their finishing. Empoli had a really good result in their last match. I think they were really a team built on scoring goals last year. They're a little bit better defensively this year. I'm not really sure what to expect from them moving forward, but I do like getting a full goal of insurance at home. That's a big number, and you're paying for it right now with all the juice. But we'll see where this number goes. I think at +1, I'm interested in Empoli, but I'm not sure I'm like dying to play it just now. Moving to Sunday, Lazio hosting Spezia. Lazio, a 1.25 goal favorite. I don't really know what to do with Spezia right now. They're a really offensive team that took on a more defensive manager, and I think they're kind of stuck in between. That's not really a great place to be against Lazio, especially going on the road, because we know that Lazio can score, and the underdogs that I want to take are against favorites who can't score. I know that Lazio can. Over-unders 3. So that 1.25 doesn't mean a lot to me. Lecce then hosting Cremonese. Lecce finally with a win, dodged a huge, ugly own goal off a corner kick, the slice right into the net, which looked like that was going to be enough to keep them. They played far better than their points have said or have shown. A lot of late goals that they've conceded. But here they're a 1/4 goal favorite with all the juice right now to Cremonese. This one's been jockeying back and forth from a 1/4 to a half. A lot of movement in Serie A this week, and you can say what you want about Italian soccer and how rigged it was in the years past. But ultimately, I think Cremonese, they just haven't shown that they're good enough to me. And I want to buy Lecce. I don't like them as a favorite, and I don't want to rely on them to win 2 matches back to back. But they're a team I'm looking to back moving forward. Sampdoria then hosting Samp hosting Monza. Sampdoria, a 1/4 goal favorite, and I'm not really a believer in them. Ultimately, their defense has been pretty bad. Their offense is sporadic, to say the least. Monza, on the other hand, a newly promoted side that brought in a ton of kind of bench talent from the rest of Italy. I'm thinking of Petagna from Napoli as a great example of that. A guy that comes in and can score goals, but ultimately is never preferred. And so they're going on the road to Samp. I lean to Monza as the road underdog. All the juice right now, so this one might fall back down to pick them. But I don't really see a lot in Samp that scares me. And so I like Monza, though there's certainly no prom queen at this point. Moving next to Sassuolo hosting Salernitana. Sassuolo, a 1/2 goal favorite at home. All the juice on Salernitana on the road. And I like Salernitana. I feel like they've done a lot of business to build their team up. They beat Sampdoria really bad. And I bet Samp, what feels like a month ago now, probably. But and I've been watching them a little bit more. Had a really good showing at Juventus and survived a ridiculous nullification of a goal that wasn't actually offside, apparently. But credit them for that point. And now they go to Sassuolo, who have not really been the team we were seeing a few years ago that had this awesome offense under Francesco De Zerbi, and then really hasn't been the same since then. They're really Domenico Berardi, and they have plenty of talent around him, but they just don't really seem to score goals. Their defense is not very good. So I lean to Salernitana getting a 1/2 goal on the road. And of course, spam coming in right now because I can't get enough spam calls to save my life. Atalanta then hosting Fiorentina. Currently, Atalanta a 1/2 goal favorite. Fiorentina with all the juice right now on the road, but they have not played well. Atalanta, I feel like this number is a little bit higher than I was expecting, probably in the 1/4 range is what I was figuring, but I guess that plus money right now at 1/2, it might fall back there. So maybe it's not too far off what I was expecting, but Fiorentina have not done a great job juggling the Europa Conference League and Serie A. They've been a favorite I've been loving to go against. Certainly don't have that in this situation. And I think that makes, instead of making this podcast 2 hours long, I probably can skip it because I just don't really want to back Fiorentina until they can show they can defend, they can score, or they can play better than they have so far. I think Atalanta are kind of lying in the weeds, and they're a team I want to back moving forward, not necessarily as a favorite, but definitely as an underdog as we move forward against some of the bigger clubs. Juve then hosting Bologna. Currently, Juve a 1 goal favorite at home in the nightcap on Sunday. Bologna have really struggled to score goals. Got their manager fired, brought a new one in. Thiago Motta, I believe, came in from Spezia, who was very aggressive offensively. And I feel like Bologna is going from a we can't score goals team to now we're going to try our best to score as many as possible. I don't think that's a good situation to go to Juve, though Juventus have really struggled. And there are big time rumors. One of my best friends is a big Juve fan, and there's a big time rumor that Allegri was getting sacked. I guess it hasn't happened yet, and I know he's got a long contract, so they probably don't want to pay that out. but Juve have been struggling with injuries. Probably should really replace the medical team before they replace the manager. But I think the manager are usually the first shoe to drop. But when I look at Bologna, I mean, Marko Arnautovic, I saw him live in Austria on Sunday night in Vienna, and he was doing Arnautovic thing, just created problems. But I don't know that he's done enough with Bologna this season. He's certainly older and getting older every day, as we all are. And I wonder what he's really can contribute to Bologna. But without him, they can't score. I feel like even with him so far this season, they can't really score much. He's been really carrying the team on his back so far. Juve, on the other hand, giving a full goal of insurance. I guess I should be interested in betting against them anytime they're giving that type of plus sign away, because I don't know how you can expect Juve to score. They've got Arkadiusz Milik, who's clearly not built to play alongside Vlahovic. They're not a two-striker team, but Milik's scoring, Vlahovic is really scoring on free kicks alone, and those are low XG events that shouldn't really happen too often. So I don't know that I love Bologna here, but I guess going at Juve does seem like a pretty attractive concept. And last but not least, on Monday, we have Verona hosting Udinese. Currently, Verona a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice. Verona haven't gotten a lot of respect for the marketplace this season, to say the least. Udinese have been playing well, brought in a new manager, they've been a lot more aggressive, and I feel like they're not the counterattacking side they were. They want a high press, and they're going to really give it to Verona. Do they deserve to be a road favorite? I'm not sure. I feel like that's very high society for Udinese to live there, high rent district. I'm not really sure the team deserves that. So I lean to the home dog being Verona, but ultimately Verona have not looked very good this year. No one's really expected them to score goals. They've gotten, I think, a few more out of Thomas Henry than they were expecting, but Lasagna as a second striker using his pace, it seems like that's not the same thing anymore. I lean to the home dog though, ultimately. And so going back through to join Fulham getting a quarter at home, and also the under in the Getafe match under 2 for the best bet for Italy. Not going to be playing Torino. Lean to that over, I guess, on Saturday morning, but lean to Roma, but I think I want a half of a goal on them. Empoli getting a full goal of insurance is the pick of the litter for me on Saturday so far. On Sunday, not interested in Spezia, not interested in Cremonese. I do have some interest in Monza as the road underdog going to Sampdoria, but we'll see. Sampdoria certainly need a result. Salernitana getting a half from Sassuolo is also of interest. I don't like Fiorentina. Bologna getting that +1 is also a really tempting number. And then Verona getting a quarter at home from Udinese. I feel like ultimately it's one of those +1s that I need to pick as my best bet. I'm not sure it's anywhere near as strong as the other two leagues, but ultimately that full goal of insurance is of interest to me. I think I like Empoli more than I like Bologna, but I think fading Juve is more interesting. So I'll play Bologna +1 as my best bet from Italy. Now we'll move to the German Bundesliga for Friday. We do have a match, Bayern München hosting Bayer Leverkusen. I would not be panicked about Bayern. They've been dominating Champions League play. Certainly 4 matches winless in the Bundesliga is a crisis, and I'm sure the seat's getting hot under Julian Nagelsmann, but I think he's in no real danger of being sacked. For Leverkusen, I'm still not a believer, and I'm looking to be against them as much as possible, so I'm not interested in fading them against the 10-time defending Meisterschale and the best team in the Bundesliga. It's just not. I mean, it's possible Leverkusen go in and lose at Bayern by 1. It's possible they can get a draw. Maybe they steal a win. That seems really unlikely. I just feel like a really offensive side like Leverkusen are going to give too many opportunities to Bayern München. They usually are great at finishing. Maybe that's part of it because they lost Robert Lewandowski, who's an incredible finisher. But I think Bayern will get back on track, and this is a great situation to do it. So the 1.5 goals for Leverkusen is not worth it to me. Over under 3 3/4 is a monstrous number. Good luck to anybody playing that over, but that's probably the way I would lean. Moving to Saturday, Eintracht Frankfurt hosting Union Berlin. Frankfurt a quarter goal favorite, and I just don't believe that team should be favored even at home in what should be a pretty good venue to Union. I think Union have proven not so much in the European slate, unfortunately, but in the Bundesliga they are a killer underdog. One I want to back, one that has kept me afloat for a couple seasons now. And Eintracht Frankfurt have been playing better, but I'm just not really a believer in their offense. I think Union are just as likely to score, and they're going to defend better. So I like Union getting that quarter on Saturday morning. RB Leipzig then hosting Bochum. Currently Leipzig a 1 3/4 goal favorite with most of the juice. Leipzig really haven't looked great this year, to say the least. I think they had a pretty good performance against Real Madrid and didn't even cover the spread, give up some late goals. Unfortunately, got nothing out of that and have had a really poor start to the Champions League, which is part of why Domenico Tedesco got removed and Marco Rose put in. I think they want to play a counter-attacking side. That's Marco Rose's style. It's not the press that we're known for under Ralf Rangnick and under Nagelsmann that works so well for Leipzig. I think they're a team in flux, team in transition. That's a scary spot to be when you're a 1 3/4 goal favorite and having to win by 2 goals. With that said, Bochum are not exactly a team that I'm so interested in backing. And I mean, it's weird because they were so good to me last year and have had such a poor start to this season. And I feel like the performances have not deserved their awful start to the year, sitting bottom, at least once I got to Germany. I was trying to buy a match ticket for their match with Cologne on Sunday, but couldn't get one, which is, I mean, good sign that their crowd's still supporting them. But on the road here, it's going to be less impactful and certainly a scarier thing, though they had some good performances on the road last year. They weren't just a home team. So the problem is that a lot of their players they acquired on loan ended up leaving, and so that kind of left Bochum in a tougher spot for this year. I think also Bundesliga teams not wanting to give their studs away to a team that's shown they can stay in the league. With that said, 1 3/4, I'm interested in Bochum. If it moves to 2, I'll be even more interested. Freiburg then hosting Mainz. Currently Freiburg a quarter goal favorite with all the juice. Mainz have been loved by the marketplace in Bundesliga, and I haven't really understood it. They got a fortunate draw, I think, against Hertha Berlin, who just can't seem to hold on for victories in this league. But has been pretty good as an underdog. Ultimately, we'll get to them in a little bit. But Mainz getting a quarter, that's the only way I'd go from Freiburg. Freiburg's offense is never really something you can trust, but I feel like they just keep getting it done. Love their manager, Christian Streich. And Mainz are going to have to be as tough as possible, but Freiburg are just as tough. We'll have a huge crowd behind them. As this climbs to a half a goal, I think I'm more interested in Mainz, but even then, I'm not really sure I'm that interested because I think Freiburg are a really worthy adversary. Over unders 2.5. I'll lean under there. I guess I do have some more interest in Mainz than I thought before I started talking about this. But I think it will take a move to a half in order for me interested in the side. But always interested in that under 2.5 because I just think goals are going to be tough in this matchup. Wolfsburg then hosting Stuttgart. Currently Wolfsburg a quarter goal favorite. All the juice on Stuttgart on the road. And where do the goals come from in this one? Over unders 2.5. I mean, under seems like a good value there as well. Wolfsburg seems like, I mean, scoring from Maxence Lacroix the week before the international break. Maybe they're getting a set piece goal. I mean, Stuttgart having lost Sasha Kalajdzic, not really sure where the goals have come from ever since he got injured 2 seasons ago, really. They sold him to Wolves. He got hurt again, sadly. But from where I sit with Stuttgart, I don't know where the goals come from. Thiago Tomas has been pretty good ever since he came in for Portugal. But I just don't know where the goals come from. So under 2.5 looks really interesting to me. Cologne then hosting Borussia Dortmund, getting a quarter of a goal now. It was a half earlier this week with a lot of juice. So some money's coming on the Carnival Cathedral City. And Borussia Dortmund, you know, I went to their match against Schalke, the Riviera Derby. It was a great matchup. The crowd was nuts. It's insane environment. Suggest going for that. Don't suggest staying the weekend, though, because there really was not much to do there. And I was looking anywhere I could. A lot of doner kebab, though, if you're into that. But Cologne, you know, they've sold Antonio Modeste to Borussia Dortmund, and their offense has completely evaporated since then. Maybe not completely, but I just don't really see where the goals are coming from. He was so important to them, and I think he's going to be really missed in this one. Getting a quarter from Dortmund does not seem like enough. I don't love Dortmund, but I think that they have gotten better defensively, bringing Nico Schlotterbeck, though he hasn't been playing as much lately as I think he should. At a quarter, it's just not enough for me on Cologne, and then over-under is hard to really predict because Cologne, you know, they're going to have trouble scoring, but Dortmund, you know, they have goals in them. Not as many as they did when Erling Haaland was there. I guess I lean under 3, if anything, because that's a pretty big push possibility on the 3, as I unfortunately get the yawns again. If you've been with me for a while, you know, they hit me from time to time. I hope that's the only time in this episode. Last but not least, on Saturday, Werder Bremen hosting Borussia Mönchengladbach. Pick 'em flat. Juice is even both ways, which seems a little bit nice to Werder Bremen, who seem to only score after the 80th minute. But they did get one in their last matchup. I think it was against Leverkusen, and got them a draw before the international break. But Borussia Mönchengladbach, you know, I don't know. I mean, Daniel Fargo's come in and they dominated Leipzig in the night match on Saturday of last weekend, or before the international break, last match day. Last Spieltag. I think From where I sit with this one, I mean, seeing over under of 3, I don't know where that comes from. I definitely lean under there. I do like what Gladbach have done counterattacking, though I feel like Werder Bremen are not going to be an aggressive front-footed side in this one. Feels like a lot of stymieing in this one. Seeing Pickham seems like a lot more respect for Werder Bremen than I would expect. This kind of puzzling numbers. I mean, over under seems too high, and I feel like there's too much respect for the home team. I don't know what that says about what the result's going to be. And certainly with an efficient market hypothesis, you should trust things that look weird. But man, I kind of want to pay for that under 3 to see how they get to 4. Moving next to Sunday, Hertha Berlin hosting Offenheim. Currently, Hertha a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice, and that's been climbing quite a bit. I do over under 3. It seems really high, though Hoffenheim tend to score a ton of goals. I feel like their offense has not been that good this season. Hertha Berlin, they keep getting better, but they can't hold on for victories. I mean, the late goals they concede are brutal. But it does work as an underdog here because a draw wins you half a bet. Not great at that minus 125 juice that I'm currently seeing, but ultimately that's the way I lean. I feel like Hertha have been playing better than the results have indicated, and that's someone I want to buy because I feel like they deserve it. Whereas Hoffenheim, I feel like they have not been playing great after a good start to the season. I was really interested in them, but they have not really kept it up. Last one on Sunday is Schalke hosting Augsburg, coming off a huge upset victory against Bayern Munchen, but ultimately Augsburg seem to beat Bayern every year they host them, 2 years in a row at least. Schalke, a half a goal favorite. Don't know where that comes from. All the juice in Augsburg on the road. And certainly we're buying high if you're playing Augsburg here. But it's pretty nice that they got an international break to potentially let the press clippings get out of their minds and get them back and focused. I feel like the Augsburg new manager, he's kind of unheard of, unheralded, but came in and they're playing in a high press that's been a lot better. I mean, Augsburg has no offense really, so they have to create some way. And I feel like whether it's a crazy long ball knee assist that scores the winner against Bayern Munchen, or the good result they had, and I mean, Rafael Gikiewicz, their goalkeeper, has been awesome. Like standing on his head, like hot goalie in the NHL. In North America type player right now, and it's really hard to beat him. Schalke have no offense, so I don't know where that comes from. They played really well in the match I attended at Dortmund, but ended up conceding a header late, and that was that. Didn't really create many chances, didn't do much. And now at home, just because they have a big crowd, they're going to do that to Augsburg. We're going to go in and going to make it really hard for them to pass the ball around. I feel like Augsburg is a very, very obvious play here potentially because of the win against Bayern Munchen, but I think they're going to follow up that good performance with another one. Overrun at 2 3/4 seems really high as well. So go through to join up with Fulham, the Getafe under, and then also with Bologna and the other 3 leagues I've gone through so far. For the best bet for Germany, will not be touching Leverkusen. I do like Union getting a quarter on the road at Frankfurt. Bochum I want 2. Mainz, I like if they climb a little bit higher, but ultimately don't like that much. I do like that under 2.5 in the Stuttgart-Wolfsburg matchups. Wolfsburg is a home team there. Cologne, Borussia Dortmund, I like under 3. I don't like Cologne enough. I just don't know where all those goals are coming from. Under 3 in the Bremen-Gladbach match, that one seems more puzzling. Hertha Berlin getting a quarter at home. I like a lot from Hoffenheim, though that seems a little bit scary, and we'll see where that number ends up closing. And last but not least, Augsburg getting a half from Schalke. I think that's got to be my best bet for Germany. I'll take Augsburg getting 1/2 from Schalke, a team that I don't really pick to score. And last but not least, we'll go through French Ligue 1, summarize our best bets from each of the leagues, list them all at least for you, and then give you the ultimate best bet, which I've not been keeping a record of. But if anybody has, shout it at me. I feel like it's been good because I've had a pretty good start to the season, but I need to get an exact number for everybody because that's important. Hopefully get around to that once I catch up on all these matches that I missed while I was in Europe. But starting in France, in Liga Soccer on Friday, we have Angers hosting Marseille. Angers, a 3/4 goal underdog, climbed up from 1/2 earlier in this week. Marseille have been really struggling in European play, but have been good in Liga. And I think Angers are really tough to trust at this point. At +1, I think I'm more interested in Angers, but I don't think it gets there. So we'll skip Friday. Strasbourg hosts Rennes on Saturday morning. Strasbourg, a 1/4 goal underdog with all the juice right now, and that's the way I lean. Rennes have just not really gotten off to a great start. Long season ahead of them, of course, but they're balancing 2 competitions, and I think that's a problem for them, and it has been great. Their league on performances have not been good. I think everyone knows they want to get you on a counterattack and cut back a pass across the center of the box. And so People have learned that. Strasbourg, their defense is not great, and I don't like the idea of Rennes running at them because they have some slow center backs that love fouling in the box or taking yellow cards or getting a second yellow card. A lot of things like that can happen. I do think the three-headed monster that Strasbourg have up front in the striker position is scary and can cause some problems for Rennes, whose defense was remolded in the offseason and still I feel like has a ways to go to be what they were last year. Rennes are certainly a better side, but I like Strasbourg, especially with what should be a big crowd behind them. I like Strasbourg getting a quarter. PSG then hosts Nice, giving 2.25 goals. Big number, but I've been fortunately staying away from fading PSG so far this season. Nice, their project got halted when Galtier left for PSG. I don't think that Nice is just like a Nice thing, why they were so difficult for PSG to beat, knocked them out of the cup, all that's the Coupe de la Ligue or Coupe de France, excuse me. Coupe de la Ligue, I think it's been retired, but I do think it was a Gaultier thing, not a Nice thing. So I'm not really interested in getting in the way of PSG. The Parisians are so strong. Moving to Sunday, Lorient, who've been awesome to start the year. They're a quarter goal underdog at home with all the juice to Lille. Lille have played way better than expected as well. Two teams outperforming, and tends to make me want to look to the underdog at home. I just don't know that Lorient really deserve where they are in the table right now. I don't think they'll stay there, but the counterattacking style I think will work fairly well against Lille, though Jonathan David has been so good, the Canadian international. I'm not sure David maybe is a way to pronounce it, but lean to Lorient getting a quarter at home, but it's very expensive right now. It might even fall to pick them before this match kicks off. Angers then host Brest, currently a pick 'em with a little bit more juice on Brest on the road. Angers have not been very good. Looking like they're starting to really struggle in their first season in the top league after getting through the relegation playoff, which will not be happening this year as 4 teams are going down from Liga to reduce the number of teams to 18. Not much for me to do here at Pick'em. Ajaccio then hosts Clermont Foot. Ajaccio with the Islanders in Corsica with no real ability to score. I don't know where that's coming from. So seeing them as a quarter goal favorite, yes, if they're going to stay in the league, they got to win these matches, but I feel like they are very likely to go down. Clermont Foot have been, I think, outperforming expectations so far this season after selling Mohamed Bayo, and I feel like they've been a lot more sturdy than I think a lot of people expected when the Liga season started. Over-unders 2 is very low, so not expecting a lot of goals here. So I like Clermont getting that quarter. I think they're more likely to win this match, and they're on the road. So that's of great interest to me. Toulouse then hosting Montpellier. Toulouse, a half a goal favorite, continue to get a ton of respect after winning Ligue 2 last season. They've been pretty good this year, but have kind of tailed off entering the international break. Maybe they got some rest they needed. Montpellier are always a tough team, Jekyll and Hyde. They can score goals, though, so there's probably a good chance that there's some goals in this one. Over-unders 2.75 speaks to that. Lean to Montpellier, as I think they're more talented and have a much richer squad, but Toulouse are certainly not an easy team to pick off, especially on the road. Troyes then hosting Reims. Currently Troyes a pick 'em with most of the juice, or excuse me, all the juice right now. If this moves to a quarter, I think I'll be interested to back Reims. They've been, I mean, they sold a lot of players. They had a really good year last year. Oscar Garcia was right to lose his mind on the sideline after a ridiculous red card on a clearance in their last matchup. Unfortunate for Reims, but it happens, and it really put them in a bad position. I think Troyes are a team that are going to fight relegation. Reims might be in the same boat, but as soon as Troyes move to a quarter goal favorite, I think I'll play Reims. Next, we'll have Monaco hosting Nantes. Currently, Monaco a 1-goal favorite, and I like Nantes. I feel like they've had a tough year balancing the Europa League after winning the Coupe de France with Ligue 1, especially considering they were in the relegation playoff just 2 seasons ago. Monaco have really not performed despite all the money that's been spent on their side, on their team, on their roster, on their club, blah, blah, blah. Philippe Clement is great on set pieces, but I mean, that's a tough way to score, even if you are really good at those. And Monaco is a 1-goal favorite. I'm interested in all. I believe in their defense, and I believe in Alban Lafont in the goals. So I like that +1 of insurance right now, especially because Monaco just never really feels like a tough venue to play in. And last but not least, we have Lens hosting Lyon. Currently, Lens a pick'em with most of the juice right now, which speaks to how well Lens have played and really how strong they've been. I feel like they're probably the best team financially for me, other than Reims. It still might be Lens in this league. Lyon can score goals. I think if they move to a quarter goal underdog, I'll be interested, but the current pick'em, not much for me to do. So I'll summarize. go through French League for best bet for this match day 8 is what I'm calling it. It's all over the place across, especially with all the cancellations and all the leagues starting at different times. But Angers, not interested unless I get one. Strasbourg, I do like getting a quarter at home from Rennes. Not interested in Nice. Lorient, I like at home getting a quarter. Brest, not much to do at Pick'em. I like Clermont Foot getting a quarter from Ajaccio because I don't think there's going to be much scoring in that one. And I think Clermont is probably more likely to score, as I said earlier. Montpellier getting a half from Toulouse should be a battle. I like that one. Should be a competitive match. Do I really want the half on the road? Not sure, but certainly lean that way. Reims not yet a quarter goal underdog, but I like that one. I like the +1 goal of insurance from Nantes, and not much we can do on Pick'em on Lyon at this point. So I'm going to go with my best bet in Ligue 1. It will be Clermont Foot getting a quarter on the road at Ajaccio. So best bets for this episode, and I'll get you an ultimate best bet, and we'll get out of here. In the English Premier League, excuse me, easy for me to say. I'm trying to rush through this, I guess. English Premier League, we're going Fulham plus a quarter. Spanish La Liga, we're going to go Getafe under 2 goals. Italian Serie A, we'll go Bologna +1. The German Bundesliga, I will take Augsburg getting a half of a goal, and then French League 1, as I just said, I'll get Clermont Foot getting a quarter. And for the ultimate best bet this week, I really like Fulham at home getting a quarter in the English Premier League. But I'm going to go actually with Augsburg getting a half of a goal on the road at Schalke. I feel like that's a really great position after a really good win. They got the international break to let the press clippings leave their mind, to let everyone forget about that performance and refocus on the next. I feel like they're going to make it really hard on Schalke to control the ball, might even going into the Veltins Arena in Gelsenkirchen and get a victory. You can follow me on Twitter, @the_Real_G Warner. Thanks for watching, whether you're on YouTube, on StreamYard, on Twitter, on or listening to the podcast on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. Please like, subscribe. God, the spam calls won't stop. Please like, subscribe, give 5 stars, leave a review, leave a comment. I'll try to do a little bit better job of checking those. But thanks for checking in, and we'll see everyone next week for Champions League stuff coming on Tuesday. Talk to you then.